Okay, so today let's get started with the dynamics of the fruit of the Spirit. Let me add this presentation. So I've named this the dynamics of fruit. Galatians 5:22 says, but the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law put in place. So I find this really interesting that we're going to deal today with just what is the fruit, because it's all of this is the fruit of the Ruach. It's what having a relationship with the Ruach produces. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. Sorry, I'm getting used to my new setup. I'm loving my new setup, but I'm definitely getting used to it. Okay, so let's look at this word fruit in Greek from the verse that we were just looking at, right? It's karpos, fruit of trees, vines, and fields, fruit of the loins, your progeny, right? Your children, your posterity, right? Your children, your grandchildren, that which originates or comes from something else, right? So it's something that's being produced. It's producing a brand new. It's replicating, right, from that seed. It's of like kind, right? An effect or result of works, acts, and deeds. Also, the praises offered to Yah as the fruit of your lips, right? So people just don't realize how powerful the words that come out of our mouth are. This is why it's so important to be, mind what comes into your mind. What are you thinking about? And making sure that we're careful about what kind of fruit our own words are producing, because we're going to eat that fruit. So fruit, the word is pari in Hebrew. Okay, so this would be our equivalent, would be pari. So it's fruit, it's produce, progeny, the fruit of your actions. You can see it's got the same type explanation as the Greek word karpos. So we know we're on the right track there. So think about it. Jezebel lied, killed, and stole to get the vineyard of the prophet, right? To get Naboth's vineyard, right? There's the word, a prophetic implication there with the fruit. And so I believe his name goes back to being like a prophet. And so she wanted his vineyard. She wanted the fruit that his family's, his legacy, was producing. So what happens, we know what her nature was. Well, what does John 10:10 tell us? That the thief comes not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But Yeshua said, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So we're really looking at fruit choices here. So our word picture, when we're looking at pari, we've got a pei, a resh, and a yod. So your fruit is the work that you produce by what's coming out of your mouth, which starts by what's happening in your mind. Proverbs 12:14 says, a man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. Right? What we do matters. Okay, Genesis 1:11. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so, right? So we know that Yahusha says that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? The Word is Yah. So what is that? We know that seeds are compared to words, right? It's the same thing. So We're to produce after him. All right, so I wanted to just look at a few things that can encourage us concerning our fruit. Okay, I always find Proverbs 31 really interesting. People use it to say, that a woman, like just putting it in the context of one woman, right? But when you broaden the context and we think about this is more than a woman, but it is the woman who is Yahshar'el, who is the bride, right? And it's interesting because every description lines up when you start looking in verse 11 and you take it all the way through. What you see is everyone lines up with a Hebrew letter. Okay, so you've got that in there too. And so the first thing that I was looking at, because there's several places where this deals with the fruit. So the first one that I was looking at was in Proverbs 31:16. It says, she considers a field and buys it with the fruit of her hands. She plants a vineyard, right? With the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. This lines up with Zion, the harvesting tool, right? So when we're considering a field, it's kind of like I see it as our sphere of influence, right? I'm considering where Yah has placed me and what good I could do there. Okay. And so if I'm buying it with the fruit of my hands, I'm working and I'm geared towards harvest. So I'm planting a full vineyard. If I'm looking for a harvest, I'm planting a vineyard. So I'm planting all the seeds that have to do with the fruit of the Spirit, because that's where a harvest is going to come from, is as I am showing forth, giving forth the fruit of the Spirit. Okay. So here's another one in there. Proverbs 31:30 lines up with the Hebrew letter shin, which is teeth, things that break things down, destroy, right? It's a picture of your teeth. So Proverbs 31:30 says, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears Yahweh, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands and let her own work praise her in the gates. So this fruit of her hands, right, it's a covenantal sign. It's the tav, right? It's when we work in his kingdom, we're in covenant with him for bringing in that harvest. And what a wonderful thing to get to participate in Yah's way of doing things, Yah's harvest, right? It's that covenant with him. Okay. Here's another one. Psalms 1:1-4 said, blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuah, and in his Torah he meditates day and night, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. The wicked are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind drives away. So they're not producing fruit, right? But we're like that tree that's got deep roots, and it's by living water, right? Yeshua is our living water. And so we can expect a great abundance of harvest when we live in covenant with him. Proverbs 11:30 says, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that wins souls is wise. This is what it's all about. And we're in this last day season, just like our new video is talking about. This is our time. It's not time to be sitting back and not working. We need to work while it is still day, right? We've got things to accomplish because night is coming when no man can work. And we've got to be ever mindful of that. It is time to work because it is day still at the moment. So Proverbs 1:27 through 31 says, when your fear comes as desolation and your destruction comes as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish comes upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. See, night has come, right? For that they hated knowledge and they did not choose the fear of Yahuah. Right? When you choose the fear of Yahuah, when we fear him above all else, we're not afraid of anything else, right? Nothing else can make us afraid because our one fear is in doing what he would have us do, what he created us to do, fulfilling our purpose here upon the earth. Says they would have none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore, they shall eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. You know, that word breaks it down into like a counsel. So whatever counsel they've been feasting on, it's not the right counsel. It was the wrong counsel. And they're going to be filled with that, eating the fruit of their way. Whether we can either eat good fruit or we can eat toxic, nasty, rotten GMO fruit, right? Depending on what our choices have been. I want to eat good fruit. Proverbs 13:2 and 3. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence. He that guards his mouth guards his life, but he that opens wide his lips shall have destruction. Proverbs 18:19 through 21. A brother offended. And this is so important as we're looking at this fruit of the Spirit that we as his people are to be walking in. Because I'm telling you, we are dealing with a selfish generation that is some of the most judgmental, self-righteous, without looking at our own lives, without humility, being willing to judge others so freely. We got to be really careful. I mean, we're to be looking at fruit, but we have to remember that a judge implies the ability to pass sentence, right? And so when you come off, I see it on Facebook a lot. I see it, there's a real nasty spirit, that it's a religious spirit, and it comes at anybody who doesn't share this person's religious opinion. And those that are unlearned and unskillful and not grounded in maturity will come against those things. You're coming against Yah's kids, and he's not going to take it very kindly. So be real careful about offending your brothers and sisters, right? I love this. So Proverbs 18:19 through 21 says, a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Isaiah 3:10 and 11 says, say to the righteous that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hands shall be given him. All about choices, isn't it? Isaiah 4:2. In that day, right? What day is that? The last day. Shall the branch of Yahuah be beautiful and glorious? Right? He talks about it in the New Testament where the branches, where he prunes and, to make the tree stronger, right? So in that day, the branch of Yahweh shall be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Yahshar'el. We're destined, if we stay in him, to escape. Many of us are going to escape the wicked plans. He's got plans for each of us. We want to fulfill our purpose. Some he'll go ahead and take home early in this time. And part of that is because he just knows what he built each person for. Sometimes bad choices will take us out early. I want to do the best to make the best choices I can and stay in as long as I can and slide into home plate going, wow, what a ride, right? And here, well done, good and faithful servant. That's my goal. Isaiah 37, 31, and 32. And the remnant that is escaped of the house of Yehudah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upwards. For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant, and they that escape out of Mount Zion. The zeal of Yahuah Zavaot shall do this. Remember, Yahuah Zavaot, he is the captain of the host of all the angel armies. And this is the name most used in association with the day of Yah. Jeremiah 7, above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yahuah, search the heart. I try the mind, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. Tells us how important these fruits of the Spirit are, doesn't it? How important is it to have kindness, to have compassion, to be patient, to have long suffering? All these things are super important because they are our actions. How important is love? Matthew 3, 7 through 10. But when he saw many of the Parashim and the Zadokim come to his baptism, so Yeshua was being baptized by John, right? He said to them, "O offspring of vipers." All right, we've got the venomous snakes right there, right? What's happening right now? I think I'll take a sip of my minerals. Right? We're dealing with venom. O offspring of vipers, who has warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bring forth, therefore, fruits meet for repentance. And think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you that Elohim is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. All right. How is he determining who are his children? It's not by a bloodline. The tribes, the 12 tribes, this is not determined by a bloodline. This is determined by a heart line and by a decision to walk in the ways of the Mashiach, right? Our fruit is what shows who we belong to. What kind of fruit is your life producing? That's what shows what household you belong to. Is it the household of vipers? Is it hateful, deceitful, backbiting, looking for a one-upmanship, all in the name of ministry? Come on. Come on, you willing to lie, cheat, and steal your way into the biggest YouTube channel you can have, stabbing your brothers and sisters in the back to get yourself there, all in the name of ministry? It's not good fruit. It's not good fruit, and your fruit will determine your reward. All right. Matthew 7:15-20. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Okay, so what is that really talking about? Thorns and thistles are like the tares and the wheat. It's the same thing, right? You're not going to go to a thorn bush and be able to eat something off of that is edible, right? You're not going to get that. You're not going to gather a nice, juicy, nourishing grape from a thorn bush. What you're going to do is you're going to get pricked. Thistles will never produce figs. Fig trees produce figs. It's a good fruit. Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. And we are not talking about just, this is a spiritualist understand things from an agricultural viewpoint to understand simplistic things. This is, this is why all of creation speaks to those who have never maybe even gotten to read an actual Bible. Okay, creation itself speaks to them about who Yah is, so that they can make the right choice. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire, whereof by their fruits you shall know them. By their fruits we know them. I mean, there's not many people that are teaching on the reality of heaven and hell today. You're not hearing this everywhere. And more people, I wish more people would talk about it, because so many people, the things that are coming upon this earth are getting ready to take out a huge number of humanity, right? And there's only, to me, this is how I understand the scriptures. We die and then we sleep until judgment day arrives. Everybody rest until judgment day arrives. Some into everlasting life with the King. Some into eternal punishment, torment, and damnation. And that is hell. And it is real. We've got to be making the right choices. Matthew 12:33-37. Either make the tree good and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by his fruit. O offspring of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things. This is why, like what I was talking about in my last broadcast, the proving of a warrior, what we're thinking about, what our level to walk in forgiveness and allow Yah to be him who decides on judgment and vengeance. All we can do is warn and share the word and try to have the best fruit possible flowing out of our life. And it's so important what we're putting our mind on right now, right? Don't be spending a lot of time with that idiot box, right? Letting that feed your soul, because it's not going to produce good fruit. Spend your time in the word and things that are going to encourage you to have a closer walk with Yah. This is what's so important right now. There's coming a time when the only word of Yah that you're going to have, because YouTube's going to be gone, voices like mine are going to be gone, other people that inspire you and lift you up, their voices are going to be gone. The physical Bibles, it will be off with your head to be caught with one. This is the persecution that will come, right? In the beast system, when the beast takes his place, right? And so we've got to understand that what we are putting in is what we're going to be living off of, right? This is what's going to be there to sustain us and others. It is so important how you're spending your time and your talents right now. I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Every idle word. For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned. This is the fruit that's coming forth. Are you spewing hate, or are you spewing love? And I'm not talking about, this easy, greasy grace stuff, right? That, just love means love, all that. If y'all have ever watched anything I've ever done, you know that's not where I'm at, right? But I'm looking for the character of Yahusha. There's a difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper, right? And I talked about this one time on a Mercy Pour Forth. A peacekeeper just wants everybody to get along, right? A peacemaker is more concerned with truth being established, and they're not afraid to be unpopular. They're not trying to stir up stuff, but they do not bow their knee to the enemy just to keep the peace. They don't just go along to get along, right? They're willing to speak truth no matter what. Matthew 21:33 through 37. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about and dug a wine press in it and built a tower. And he let it out to husbandmen and went into a far country, right? He gave the authority of it over to those that he put in charge, that he allowed to be in charge. And then he goes to a far country. And when the time of the fruit drew near, right? When harvest time was coming, he sent his servants to the husbandmen that they might receive the fruits of it. And the husbandmen took his servants and beat one and killed another and stoned another. Think about the prophets and the disciples, right? Again, he sent other servants more than the first, and they did unto them likewise. But last of all, unto them his son. Last of all, he sent unto them his son, saying, they will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him. What did we just read about the nature of our enemy, of Satan? To kill, steal, and destroy. That's what the enemy collectively does, the enemy kingdom. Let us seize on his inheritance. And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard, and they slew him. And when the Adonai, therefore, of the vineyard comes, what will he do unto those husbandmen? They say unto him, he will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen, which shall render him the fruits in their seasons. I love this one out of John 15:1 through 8. It says, I am the vine of truth, and my Father is the husbandman. Right? So here we get to see what this is. Yahusha is the vine of truth. He's the son. and his father, Yahuah, is the husbandman. Every branch in me that bears not fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit, right? This is what I was talking about on the proving of the warrior, saying, Yah, he whom Yah loves, he chastens. Put your hand on my sore spots. Put your hands on the things that need to be purged out of my life so that I will bring forth as much fruit as possible. He says, now ye are clean through the word which I've spoken unto you, right? The word is the seed that I planted within you, within your hearts. Abide in me and I in you, right? Where yada, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself. He's like, if you cut yourself off from me and you try to do this in your own strength, you are not going to make it. Right? You've got to abide in me. How do we do that? We do this through prayer and worship and thanksgiving. I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter his courts with praise. Right? Every day, that's the first thing I try to set my mind on. I say, I thank you that you have allowed me to continue to breathe today. I breathe at your pleasure, O Yahuah, and what a privilege it is to be able to even speak your name. Help me to abide in you, to live in you, right? Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the netzarim. He that abides in me and I am him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. Right? Without him, I know where I'd be, probably 6 feet under, awaiting my appointment with hell. That's where I would be without him, because I didn't know how to make a single good choice without him. And he's helped me, and he saw me in the mess that I was in, and he untangled. I cried out and he heard me, and he came and he untangled my feet from the fowler's net and rescued me. Right? I owe him everything. In me, and my words abide in you. You shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit. So shall you be my Talmudim. See, the church system, I've heard so many charismatic things. I mean, we can't pick a verse out of scripture here and there and create our own book of illusions. What we do when we pick and choose, right? Because I've heard so many times that, Christians can just ask what you will and it shall be done unto you. Well, you're leaving a whole lot out of context then, right? We've got to take this in context, because we've got to get to a place where we don't want anything but what his will is. I'm not coming to him with my Santa Claus wish list, saying, well, I haven't been naughty. I've been very nice, and I deserve a boat and car and a Prada this and a Coco Chanel that and whatever. Right? That's not what it's about. It's about me putting my flesh into submission to him and my will into submission to him until I want what he wants. And then I can join what his will is by my prayer and by my intercession. And then that will be done, because it's his will to begin with. It's getting in line with him. Romans 6:20 through 23. For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness, right? We didn't even think about being righteous. I sure didn't. That was the last thing on my mind. I wasn't a bit concerned with being righteous. I was living for the moment and living for the day. I was free of any law whatsoever. I was lawless. I was Torahless. What fruit had ye then in those things whereof ye are now ashamed? Right? There's plenty of things on my list from my past that I just shake my head and I say, oh, Father, I can't get stuck there though, right? We can't live in shame. There is, I am ashamed that I did those things, right? There's plenty on the list. However, he has freed me from guilt and shame so that I can be productive, because I know those things that are shameful. It's just what it says here. For the end of those things is death. Had I continued in that, if that had been my state, when my appointment, it is appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment, right? We die once, we sleep until it's time, and then comes judgment, right? So the end of my ways would have been eternal separation and torment. But he redeemed me. And so I don't have to live in shame anymore. I can rejoice in my salvation. Romans 6:22 through 23. But now, being made free from sin and become servants to Elohim, you have your fruit unto holiness, right? Unto living a life that is clean and consecrated unto him. And the end will be everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift, right? I didn't earn it. I didn't do anything for it. I couldn't have gotten it for myself. It's the gift of Elohim, is eternal life through Yahusha HaMashiach, our Adonai. I love that. Revelation 22, verses 1 and 2. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and out of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bore 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. This is beautiful. Now we're examining the 9 fruits. Every time I see 12, I'm thinking, what are the fruits that are being produced individually by each of the tribes? Interesting question there. All right. I think that is the end for today. Yes. When we come back next time, we'll do the dynamics of love. We're going to start with that one because that is the fruit, the first one listed. So I hope you will come back and join me